All right, so with everything going on, it is time to stop being complacent about the car kits and the 72-hour bucket. So even if it's not perfect, let's just get it done, okay? Do-do-do, do-do-do, vegan prepper. Do-do-do, do-do-do, vegan prepper. So I've been following the news of what's going on in the conflict overseas. Unlike I have followed the news on most things, I typically will check in like every couple days to kind of keep my finger on the pulse of the world and see like what is going on, what are things potentially to look at, to be concerned about, like to make myself aware, but not to be obsessed with headlines. And I have to admit, like many people, I have become slightly obsessed with headlines over the situation across the world. Today is March 9th, 2022. And I saw a couple of headlines, actually one this morning, and then one literally about a half an hour ago that I just was like, I've got to stop what I'm doing. I'm in the middle of doing orders for my business, and I was like, I have to just stop, and I have to get something ready for us, for my family. Should anything happen, should we need to evacuate, whatever. Like we definitely... I mean, like, we are more planning for bugging in, like most people say you should, for our safety. But should there come a time when we would need to enter a vehicle and leave, we have to have some stuff on hand for our family. So we do have some relatively well-stocked bug-out bags that are more for hiking. But right now, my mind is on vehicle kits. And we've been promising for a long time on the channel to show you our vehicle kits and show you our solutions. And specifically because we live in an extremely hot climate. And so what are we doing about food? I'll discuss a little bit about what I have decided to do. But again, this is the vehicle kit is something that has been more thought out, something that we have been putting together for a little while. But this bucket I just made of food has happened just in the last half hour. I've just grabbed stuff off my shelves, every single thing that I could think of, and threw it in the bucket. And I just want to walk you through a little bit of that and also sort of give you potentially some ideas. And again, obviously, after only a half an hour, this is an extremely imperfect thing. I'm not like showing you something that's been meal planned or like planned for nutrition. I am looking at hopefully getting 3 days worth of full calories for my family in one bucket. And it's very difficult, especially as vegans, being more plant-based. Our food is not very high in calories and it's a big issue. And so you're going to see, again, this is not perfect by any means, but it is what I managed to grab, and then hopefully can give you some ideas of things that you could throw into a similar bucket for your family. So let's go ahead and look at the buckets for now, and we'll sort of discuss them. And this is not, it's really not an official video unveiling the car kit, unveiling the food bucket, because like I said, this is like, I just have to get something done. And so hopefully to encourage anybody else out there who tends to I get like decision paralysis. So I've talked many times about having ADHD and dealing with anxiety and kind of the perfectionism that comes from that. In fact, oftentimes when an ADHD person is perceived as lazy, not taking action, a lot of times what's actually going on is not that they are unable to do things, but that they know they can't do the thing to the level of expectation that they have on themselves. Like it's a highly developed sense of perfectionism and just kind of like you can actually literally make yourself stuck because you know you can't complete the task. So for anybody out there who deals with something similar, please just go ahead and do something. The goal is not to make it perfect, but to make adequate calories for a few days for your family, which theoretically could be stretched out even further. And so without getting caught up in perfectionism, and then please nobody be like, well, that's a dumb kit. You don't even have this. You don't even have that. Again, this was half hour of what I threw together from just what's on my shelf right now. And then I'm definitely strategizing to make something more perfect in the future. But for now, I do have something. So let's go ahead and like actually get into it now. All right, here are the 2 buckets that I have come up with for this this system. So the car kit, and then here, and I'm gonna pan, and please don't judge, we're still dealing with this room, but this is reality over here right now with some toys I need to pick up and stuff. But anyway, every car kit looks like this. We have the Home Depot buckets, which we just went and grabbed recently because we didn't have any more like food grade buckets. Our food grade buckets hold food. So the Home Depot buckets are the ones that we picked up for the car kit. Let me show you exactly what we have done. I have already purchased these toilet lids. So we have 3 toilet lids, which are on the bucket. So one thing that I have not gotten yet, and I would welcome some input in the comments, is bags for the toilet situation. So this basically came about as well. I have always had these toilets, but then I bought 2 more to be part of our vehicle kits once the Virginia, I believe it was Virginia, the snowstorm that people got stuck on the highway for 24 hours. And I realized that a bucket toilet would make a great car kit container, where basically, obviously this is the container for the things in the car kit, and we're not using it obviously as a toilet. That would be like in the most extreme emergency only that we would actually end up using this as a toilet. But until that time, it can be used to contain the other things that are in the kit. And so, like I said, one of those things is the bags I don't have, because ideally, you know, I mean, if we did get stuck for 2-3 days somewhere, we would not necessarily be wanting, you know, I wouldn't necessarily have access to my giant pile of wood chips, which I have in my backyard. So like for home use, I wouldn't plan on using bags. But for being stuck in the car, I would want to have the bags, ideally the ones that kind of solidify urine and help keep down smell or whatever. So anybody who knows of good ones to get, please let me know, because I can't seem to find anything that has like overall positive reviews. A lot of the things I read, and then tons of them say, oh, they leak or this or that. So if you know of some good bags for bucket toilet seats, please let me know in the comments. All right, so what do we have in here right now for these? So these are just car kits. This is what lives in my car right now. I actually pulled this out of the trunk of my car today. The other one is the one for my son, and we just haven't thrown it in his car yet, but I'm going to be putting that one in his car as soon as this one goes back into my car. So all of them are the same, with only a couple of differences, and I'll share what those are in just a second. So we've got a couple of rolls of toilet paper in the car kit. Actually, each of the cars also has a roll of toilet paper in the center console. So every car is theoretically going to have like 3 rolls of toilet paper. I have a full package, which is 72 of these fire lighters, which are just kind of amazing. They are fantastic for starting fires. I truly love them. They are my absolute favorite thing for helping to start a fire. Each one of these will burn for 7 to 8 minutes by itself. So this says lights 18 to 24 fires, but for me, I use only one, and then I can get a roaring campfire going very easily. Because you just start one, like I said, it burns for 7 to 8 minutes, and then you stack your smaller kindling on top, and then you have something very easily starting a fire. Like even in windy conditions, these little things just burn so well. So I really love these. I know there's good fire starters out there. These are just the ones that I tried first, and I love them. So these are the ones that I have kept. So yeah, each one of the buckets has a full bag of these in there. I get those from Azure Standard. And so I have this box of matches, which was just in my trunk. And I threw it in the bucket when I put the kit in there, but also in the kit, I put some other matches. So we've got 2 boxes of matches, which is not like, I don't think that's a bad thing. So I actually personally I also carry a lighter with me at all times in my backpack. Like I wear a backpack as a purse. And so I actually have a lot of kind of redundancies, but obviously that's good. I personally find it much easier to start a fire with matches versus a lighter. So if I didn't have this, for some reason, I would definitely prefer matches, and I can get a fire going pretty well with matches. With a lighter, man, it's a lot more work, but I can get it done. I have done it actually. We just lit a really good fire out in the snow in a trip that we went up north, and we practiced outside safely you know, doing all the safety precautions, a ring of stones on the earth, not on pine needles. It was very wet. It was soaking wet out there, and we got a really good fire going using nothing but a lighter. So we have practiced, and we can do it even in really wet, snowy conditions. And so that's just like, we were playing in the snow, but I was like, we got to light a fire, we got to practice, and we did. We managed to do it without any of our stuff. But anyway, we got our matches, like I said. I prefer, so these are ones that we had because I was wanting to purchase matches, and I forget who bought these, because my preference would be these, because you can strike them anywhere on like a file. Because like I have, for instance, on my multi-tool, I've got a file. I can strike a match on a file and start a fire, like if the box were messed up or something. Like with these, a lot of times this will get kind of worn down, and then you can't really light any more of your matches because it got worn down. But yeah, somebody purchased these, and I can't remember who, and I'm not necessarily trying to blame anyone. I think what was happening was you couldn't find these anywhere. You could only find these, and so we were getting these just to have them on hand because you needed some matches. But these are my preference, so actually all of the car kits have a box of these in them. But anyway, my car had the other ones as well, so I just tossed those in. So for my car, because we are more likely to have multiple people in my car. This is actually not dirty, or I guess it technically is, but it's not like, it's like you can't get it out. Like stuff is, it's kind of like the bottom of a pot at this point. So I need to get in there with some baking soda and scrub that out. But you know, anyway, I have 2 cups because my car is the one that's more likely to have multiple people in it. Thad typically just driving by himself. Adam is typically just driving by himself. So I've got 2 cups for, you know, heating up water and, you know, foods or whatever, in my particular kit. And then each one of the bug out bags also has a cup in it. But anyway, regardless, we have these. So they're for cups, and then for boiling of water and all of that. I have got a Firebox Nano, and each one of the car kits, again, these buckets, toilet seats, again, these are all the same. Oh yeah, this is one of the differences I mentioned. Thad and Adam each only have 1 cup in their kit, but I have 2. And then the Firebox, everybody has a Firebox too in their bucket. And so this is a Nano stove. I've shown this on the channel a few times. I will insert a clip of the stove like standing up. So that is what it looks like all stood up and assembled. And so that is for the fire burning. I'm like contemplating replacing these with Scout stoves. The Firebox Scout is really inexpensive. So if you haven't looked into it, I think it's like $20 for a Scout, and it looks really good, and it's fantastic. And for a situation like this, it would really work. But this is great for more of like a backpack type thing. And so I did make the decision to put these in the car kits for now, but my future plan is to buy Firebox Scouts for each of these buckets, and then to put these Firebox Nanos into the bug out bags. I have just like a random plastic fork. This is like kind of like one of those things where, like, you know, we get Chipotle sometimes, and then we tell them no fork or no whatever, and then they give them to us anyway. And so I just tossed a fork in here just to have, even though plastic is not ideal, especially, you know, with heat or whatever, but hey, you know, it's better than nothing. And then each one of the kits also has one of these telescopic fire bellows. And so they open up, and so you're able to use them to like blow on a fire without having to actually get close to the fire. And these things are absolutely fantastic. So each one of the buckets has one of these. So that is the total or the contents of the buckets thus far. And these are by no means perfect. This is sort of, like I said, I still want the bags for the toilet itself. And then the only other difference is Adam's kit has it's a folding table in it. And so there's like a little table that fits in here, and then you fold it out, and it's just handy. And then these kits don't have that, but I will show you too. Like, so this bucket toilet seat, you would think is not necessarily like the best, but honestly, it is pretty comfortable. I mean, I've never actually physically used it to go to the bathroom, but I have sat on it. And as of now, I'm still working on it. I've lost about 70 pounds total from my heaviest weight. But I'm still quite large. I am still close to 300 pounds, and I can sit on this and I feel secure. So I'm going to kind of be super out of my comfort zone and show you guys me sitting on a bucket toilet seat for your own information. So please, again, I don't know. I feel like pathetic being like, please be kind. But seriously, I know that I still have work to do. I don't need to hear it in the comments. Believe me, I know. And we are working on it. But yeah, I'm going to just show you what that looks like. So I'm 5'9" and I'm close to 300 pounds. And this is what it looks like to have somebody of that size sitting on a seat. Okay, here is the food bucket that I have put together, and it's not quite perfect. It doesn't all fit, but I'm pretty sure that I can get it all to fit if I just sort of mess with it a little bit more. Unfortunately, this is not a standard 5-gallon bucket. This is a 6.5-gallon bucket, if I'm remembering correctly. And so it is slightly larger than like your standard bucket. Like here it is next to the Home Depot bucket. You can see, you know, the difference in height there. But anyway, yeah, I'm just going to show you each item and sort of talk to you a little bit about some of the things that are in here. So again, this is not perfect by any means. This is, again, stuff that I just threw off of my shelf into this bucket because we need to have something like a store of calories for, you know, whatever eventuality. And my hope is to, in the next week, sort of really brainstorm through how I can make additions to this to make it better, and then to put another video out with an updated bucket situation that is a little bit more thought out. But really, honestly, if all you can do right now is just toss stuff so that you can have something for your family, I feel like that is so important and still so valid. So do it even if it's not perfect. I'm giving you permission. Not that you need my permission, but just in case you need some permission, you have permission to do it without it being perfect. So in the food bucket, what I have are our like our zero waste bamboo utensils. I do like these primarily because of the weight. So these weigh much less than metal utensils, and then they have kind of something that keeps them sort of like enclosed and maybe a little cleaner. And then also, if all you can do is just sort of wipe them off and then you put them back, and you know, you might not care, but like I kind of still care that everybody has their own designated color. Everybody knows which color is theirs, and so nobody's like swapping spit on their utensils, which maybe could be important, like if somebody comes down with a cold or something, you, especially in some situation where you don't have access to a lot of care, to hopefully spread as little germs amongst each other as possible. Of course, if you're in some close and can't be, you know, you don't have to also be sharing utensils with somebody who's sick, right? So anyway, what we have in each one of these is a pair of chopsticks. I just like chopsticks. They're super handy for many things, like things you would not even think of. Actually, I like cooking with chopsticks almost better than I like cooking with a fork or a spatula at times. And then bamboo straw. They originally came with a knife also in them, but the bamboo knives are like completely useless. And so I pulled those out. And then just like a fork and a spoon. So nothing like revelatory in these. Although I will say Sage's kit, I left hers into, because it's so much smaller, it's like the youth size. Hers does have a little knife in it. And now that I have just said that they are useless, this did actually come in handy when I was up north. We have a video of us up north, and I made quesadillas on the firebox stove, and this came in handy for spreading the refried beans on the quesadillas. So it wasn't 100% useless, but like generally speaking, those knives are useless and they're not good for cutting anything. And I have plenty of knives for cutting in my EDC. If you ever watch my EDC videos, you know that I'm always kind of like, you can't ever have too many knives. And I apparently believe it because I have a lot of knives in my EDC. But anyway, I want to discuss really fast again about the calories. And so for me personally, I've got 5 people in my family. And so I'm estimating if we were running around, I gave us 2,500 calories each per day, which is not enough really. But I figure one of us is very little. So Sage only just turned 4. And so hopefully that sort of like balances it out a little bit. But basically this kit is hoping for 3 days worth of 2,500 calories per person, which for 5 people works out to 37,500 calories total is what I need for this bucket. Let's discuss a couple of things about the bucket too. I weighed this bucket and it weighs 28.4 pounds. That's ridiculous. But like I said, this is meant more for a vehicle situation and not for a bug out situation. If it were more of a bug out thing and we were putting the food into our bug out bags, hopefully, because Adam already, he needs to do his bug out bag video, but he already planned the bug out bags and he purposefully planned the bags pretty light to make them easier to carry. But if we had to spread 28 pounds over 4 people, like the 4 larger people, that's not too bad. 7 pounds per backpack. But again, keeping in mind that this is only enough food for 3 days and it would be reducing as we went. So it's not like we were permanently with an extra 28 pounds on our persons. And so anyway, just sort of keeping that in mind. Also, again, we're vegan and like we're plant-based, which means again, many of our foods are extremely low calorie. But I think even if you do eat meat, or if you do eat some of those other foods, I think a lot of times you might be surprised at how little calories are in some of these prepackaged foods. So for instance, even I make these like kind of doofus blunders where I was thinking I have several packets of this chana masala on hand and I'm like, that's like 330 calories a pouch. And somehow it felt like so much. But as part of this bucket now, I have 23 of these packets in this bucket. And that amounts to 7,590 calories, which sounds like a lot, but that's not even enough for everyone for a whole day. So 23 of these is not enough calories for my whole family for a whole day. 23. So that's like, it's a little sobering. And sort of as I was putting this together and I was doing the calculations, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, I've got to get more strategic about this. But like I said, I was just grabbing what was on my shelf. So pluses about this, of course, are that you don't have to heat it. It's 100% ready to go. It's not in a can, so it's a much lighter than something that would be in a can. And so it's still ready to go and you can just have it and just basically rip it open and then like suck it out if you need to with your fork or whatever. So I'm going to be planning again around this and trying to figure out other solutions and seeing what I can come up with. But for now, I did throw every single one of these that we own is in this bucket now. And it is currently set aside now for this purpose and this purpose alone. So also we've got some of these, which Adam had picked up a while ago for running, for being able to just sort of suck down on a run or whatever. So it's 70 calories per pouch. So I knew that this was not going to be something that was going to be very high calorie. What I do like about it is that it's chia. And so it's, you know, kind of healthy and gives you long lasting energy. Chia is really famous for how much energy it can give you in a kind of a small package. But the Mama Chia, what these are, they're 70 calories each. There's only 6 of them. So that's 420 calories. So again, this is barely anything, but hey, it's something to just sort of keep you going a little bit. I have, just a second, at the very bottom of the bucket. So one second. I also have some of these homemade dehydrator meals that I have created. So it says fish taco, but that isn't that there's fish in here. It's a fish taco seasoning packet with dehydrated black beans and brown rice pasta. Each, there's two separate, well here, I'll just open for you. It's not sealed. Two separate parchment paper packets in here. And so crumble, crumble, that's what it looks like. And there's greens and stuff. These are actually quite delicious. We've had these multiple times because I made like 20 of them. And so it looks like we have 6 left. And we have actually used these many times. I believe in the video up north. I'll just find it and link it below. The video that we shot up north, we went to play in the snow. There was almost no snow. But the one where I made the quesadillas, we also made some of these. Sorry, it's loud. We also made some of these. And they're delicious. And so I just have them on hand. So what I like about these two is that even though I hate, you know, I don't want to like really cook in plastic. If we had to, like if, for instance, we didn't have the little cups or whatever, we could, although how would you boil the water? I guess you would just, never mind. I guess you still need the cups. See what I mean? Like this is very imperfect. And I still have to think through everything. But we could theoretically dump both of these into this and then pour boiling water in and then like seal it if we had to. So that is one way that you can use it. And so that is one way that utilizing Mylar bags is actually kind of handy. So you don't necessarily, I guess that would be great for if you were trying to be a bit more covert, boiling some water, maybe with like alcohol instead of wood. I don't even know. Then you'd pour the water in, you could seal it. You would trap the smell and it wouldn't be something that you'd be like cooking and announcing, hey, we've got food over here. So potentially. But anyways, just a few of these. And so each one of these is 365 calories. And so total, this is, I didn't write it down. It's 365 times 2. Okay, I'm going to put it on the screen because I don't do math on camera. That's like a rule that I have adopted because of Wrangler Star. Actually, he said, I don't do math on camera. Like, that's so brilliant. I'm going to adopt that rule. But anyway, so this is what that is. And so we have 3 of these packets. And so that is a total of 2,190 calories. It's really not very much. This is something that I'm going to be discussing too in a dehydration video where I'm discussing the calories per cup of dehydrated foods. And pasta is no longer on my list of things that I'm going to be dehydrating very much of because of things like this, where it takes up a large volume and there isn't very much calorie payoff for how much volume it takes up. Something like quinoa is a much better choice for dehydration because it dehydrates down so small and you get actually quite a lot of calories in a very small amount. So that kind of stuff too is like I'll be like putting together quinoa meals theoretically that I can put in here. But again, this was thrown together. This was not perfect. So we're going to take you through a little at a time. And then the next thing, after I was feeling super discouraged, looking at the calorie total. So we've got 2,190 for the black bean pasta meals, 7,590 for 23 chana masala packets, and then 420 for the mama chia. We were looking at a very small amount of calories. Again, I don't do math on camera, so I'm going to put that right here, what that is total. And I need, remember, 37,500 calories total. And then all of a sudden it hit me. I was reminded of sunflower seed butter. So we just got a pack of these from Azure Standard. I went ahead and threw 3 of these into the bucket. Again, this is not perfect. This is not like even like this would take water. This is just trying to get the calories. So 3 of these total is 9,240 calories. And now it's like, now we're starting to get some calorie payoff because we've got 14 servings per container and each serving is 220 calories because obviously this is a lot of fat and protein. And then because of the sunflower seed butter, I was like, oh yeah, I should just grab some sunflower seeds off of my shelf. And so this is a 5-pound bag of sunflower seeds, and total, this is 13,600 calories. So finally we have like enough for a whole day for us. So if you've been doing math, total now in the bucket, I've got 33,000 calories, 33,040 calories, which is still over 4,000 calories short, I believe. Yes, it is. I just did math on camera. I broke my own rule. I'm still over 4,000 calories short. So clearly I have a lot more planning to do, because like I said, this is just something that I threw together and now it's ready. It's 28 pounds, but it's ready. And so I am going to pack it so that it will all fit and put it somewhere so that we can grab it if necessary on our way out the door. So that, for anybody who's wondering, is the solution that I personally have come up with for storing food in the car kit, where basically I'm not going to have food in the car. I'm going to leave the food out of the car. So with the car kit too, Adam and I were discussing that it kind of comes down to what is probable versus what is possible. Chris over at City Prepping talks about this a lot, that you prepare for what's probable, not so much always for what is possible. So basically, the idea being that for the most part, when I'm in my car, like 99% of the time, I am not so far from my house that I can't walk back to my house. And so the idea of needing to lug all of this food into my car every single time I go anywhere, or even like leaving an amount of food like this in my car, is just not something that I personally believe is intelligent or a wise use of resources, especially as we are going into summer. We're going into much hotter months now, where I don't believe that we can keep food good inside of a car. I've thought of almost everything that I can think of, but as soon as you start hitting it with like 160, 180 degree temperatures, which is about what the car would become inside. Actually, there are people who bake cookies, like almost as a joke, inside of their cars during the summer here, because I live in Central Arizona. It's very hot. So you're tired of me saying it's hot here in the summer, but it is. So a lot of people are facing, extremely harsh cold winters. That's not us. We face extremely harsh hot summers. And so it's kind of like, you can store food in cold because the cold actually helps it stay good longer, but in the heat is the big question. So our plan moving forward is to basically have this bucket, hopefully very soon, much better thought out and put together than this one currently is. But to have something like this, basically ready to go for things like our little road trips. When we take our little road trips up north and we have, this is not something that I would be busting out for food, for road trip food or anything like that, but it would be in the vehicle on hand for us. Should something happen, should we break down, should we get lost, should something happen and we got stuck, we have about 3 days worth of food for our family. Now, also as a potential vehicle bug out situation, should something go down, should we need to leave, should we be evacuated, should something happen, I now have, and I keep calling it imperfect. Y'all know it's imperfect. But anyway, I have a bucket of about 3 days worth of food that I can take with us should something like that happen. It's already ready to go. All we have to do is grab it and toss it in whichever vehicle it is we are taking with us. And each vehicle is already set up with the other car kit essentials. Ideally, we would have enough time to, say, grab the fireboxes from the other two kits, or the even the matches or the fire starters or whatever. Like ideally we'd be able to kind of grab stuff and go. But even if we had only 5 minutes to leave our house, we would have a bucket now full of 3 days worth of food for our family. Also, every single one of the vehicles has 2 gallons of water in it at all times. And I'm definitely looking to increase that amount. Again, it ends up being kind of difficult for summertime. And so we basically just have to make peace with the fact that the plastic, because the water is stored in plastic, it does get super hot. There has been plastic leached in the water, and that is not healthy or ideal. However, it's better than dehydration. So we're still going to go ahead and put the water in the car in plastic, but I'm planning on upping that amount it's sort of one of those things too where I'm like, how much water should I be carrying in my car? And so 2 gallons should be about good for like one person, right? For a couple of days. But as soon as you start having multiple people in the vehicle, it changes. And again, should we need to evacuate in a vehicle, the plan is to grab the other 2 gallons from the other 2 vehicles and put those in the car. But even still, 6 gallons for 5 people is not enough for, any amount of time. We do have several gallons of water ready to go already in our own house. And so probably what we would end up doing is loading up this bucket as well as several gallons of water from inside our home, which we would take with us wherever we were going. But again, it's that whole probable versus possible thing where if I'm already like close enough to my home that I can walk home or whatever, I don't need to always store enough water for our whole family for 3 days in my vehicle. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's something where I'm going to be loading it in like I would be loading in the food. So basically for 5 people for 3 days, we would estimate something like 15 gallons of water. We easily have that much water on hand. Way more than that. Water is one of our main preps in this house. So anyway, that's sort of our thoughts on the car kits and all of that. But I did want to mention one more thing since this video is already long enough. And if you're still watching, I appreciate it. But I was remembering a story that I read in The Gift of Healing Herbs by Robin Rose Bennett, which is one of my favorite herbal resources. This is truly like, if I could only have like 1 or 2 herbal books, this would absolutely be one of them. And so she shares about sunflower. And I remembered this right after I threw the sun butter in. I was like, oh yeah. And sunflower sun butter is really good for radiation and radiation sickness. Not that I'm saying that it's like a cure for legit like actual nuclear fallout. I'm certainly not saying that. But to protect yourself, say some event happens, many, many, many miles from where you are, but there still could potentially be some fallout in your area. And so sunflower seeds, sunflower butter is a great thing to have on hand for helping your body deal with radiation, as well as spirulina is another great thing to have on hand. But let me read you just briefly about what she says about sunflower. She says, when I was living 6 miles from Indian Point Nuclear Power Plant, a terrible misnomer, as I'm sure Native Americans would be among the least likely people to build a nuclear power plant. True. I became very ill with a severe infestation of parasites, flukes, in my liver, and what I believe were the early stages of radiation poisoning. I found that I began to crave sunflower seeds in any and every form possible, especially concentrated sunflower seed butter. I ate jars and jars of the butter. I didn't easily find information about why I was so drawn to this food, but trusting my intuition and body wisdom, I kept eating it. I eventually started gathering corroborating information with May Bethel's 1978 book, The Healing Power of Natural Foods. Her entry on sunflower seeds was helpful and ultimately fascinating, as it included this tidbit. Russian scientists have found that sunflower seed pectin offers a great protection against deposition of strontium-90 in the bones. They have the effect of expelling radioactivity from the system. She continues, sunflower seeds contain an abundance of healthy unsaturated fatty acids and are a great resource of antioxidant vitamin E and selenium known to repair DNA and thus reduce the risk of certain cancers. Sorry, I know that this is not super entertaining. I don't know another way to share this with you, so I'm sorry. It was just like we're having story time now, okay? I'm almost done. Sunflowers are also mineral rich, containing iron along with calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and zinc. Their deep roots extract trace minerals from the soil. So sunflower seeds are just insanely nutritious, regardless. So some years later, when I wrote Healing Magic, a Green Witch Guidebook for Conscious Living, she also has a book that's kind of more based on her personal faith, which is pagan in nature. I noticed the experiments that were done at Chernobyl after the nuclear disaster there in 1986. Sunflowers were planted in a pond 1 kilometer from the site, and they absorbed and thus removed the heavy metals and radionuclides such as uranium, cesium, and strontium from the land and water. So basically, it's like what it does for the planet, like the sunflower plant, what it does for the world, like for the earth, removing these heavy metals and toxins from the earth, the seeds also do for our bodies to help remove the heavy metal and toxins. And so that actually is a thing. For instance, when Adam, he had to get an MRI done, and he got whatever that stuff is that they put in you. I'm sorry, I don't know what it is. But it was basically like radiation throughout his body. And he was starting to feel really like icky, like he was having these weird symptoms. And then he realized, or when he looked it up, he saw that it can be related to the stuff that they have you drink before you go to do the MRI. And so I started him on a bunch of sunflower seeds. Basically, it wasn't one of these, but it was a different kind of jar of sunflower seed butter. Apples too are really rich in pectin, which are also supposed to be helpful for helping the body get rid of kind of radiation. And again, this is kind of low level radiation. Again, I'm not trying to say that this is like a cure for nuclear fallout. I'm just saying it's still smart to have on hand if you are in a situation where it would be helpful to know this information. And then, so he was eating tons of sunflower seed butter, apple for the pectin, and then also spirulina. I keep pointing because it's right here. Spirulina. So this is the brand that I get. I also get that at Azure Standard. It's just a good price. You can find it on Amazon, but it's a really good price. And so spirulina too is really great for removing heavy metals and radiation from the body. So anyway, iodine is great for the radioactive iodine, but then there's so much more to radiation than just the iodine. So I've been hearing tons of prepping channels talking about iodine. Anyway, I need to do like a separate video, I think, on just the sunflower seeds, but I thought I would bring it up here because of the fact that there's so much in the bucket. And anyway, it just sort of came up in my mind, and I realized that was, valid. It's a valid choice. So anyway, that's kind of what we have right now. Extremely imperfect. Like I said, I didn't even clean my room. So my daughter plays in here while I do my work. And like I said, I stopped doing my orders to get this thrown together because it was like, I felt the urge, like I had to do it right now. So that's what I did. Then I decided to go ahead and make this video and hopefully get it out ASAP to help anybody else get the inspiration and the impetus that they need in order to potentially take steps like this. And so hopefully this was helpful to you at all. If you have any questions or comments or anything that you'd like to say at all in the comments down below, please just let me know. I'm just praying peace. I'm praying God's perfect will on the situation over in the Ukraine. Just that everything works out perfectly, obviously. I'm still holding faith. I'm still believing for the best possible outcome. But I'm also, I try to be wise. It's like that Proverbs 31 woman. She has no fear of the cold because her family is clothed in double layers, is what some translations say. Basically, obviously, she's not afraid of cold because she's prepared for that eventuality. So I don't personally believe that prepping is a lack of faith. I think it's just like, okay, well, even if that does happen, well, I'm prepared for that eventuality. So then I don't even have to be afraid of it. So that's a lot of why I do what I do. But anyway, I guess that's it. And I hope everything is well with you and yours. And as always, I hope the rest of your day is good and your life stays wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys later. Bye.